Welcome to Dropout 22, a GD Media production, and have we got a show for you tonight? Top guests, absolutely loads and loads to get through. Happy Six Nations Eve. He impressed us so much last week that he's back for a second appearance. It is Luke Milton. We've got Welsh touch rugby hero Guy Griffiths, and back from the dead is Pat Andrews. We've got all the usual. Looking ahead at the Six Nations, we've got Pat's stats, we have got turnover ball, we have got Corsi's quiz, and you do not want to miss a shock omission by Patrick Andrews. It is massive. Welcome aboard. Gentlemen, welcome to Dropout 22. Patty, good to have you back after your absence last week.
Yes, can't believe I've ruined the 100% rating, 100% attendance record.
You must be very disappointed in yourself.
I am indeed. You know what it means to me.
You know, I am not angry. I am just disappointed. And Milt's, good to have you back, pal. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm pleased to get the second cap. Get selected again. Pretty chuffed with that. So cheers for the selection.
Absolute pleasure. We'll get you on for your hat-trick ball next. We were going to kick off the show with Wales against France because Guy Griffiths correctly called last week that Dan Lydiate would come in for Justin Tipuric, and we will listen to that prediction now.
Very, very tight. I think Dan Lydiate will play. I think. You reckon? But I've been off Tipuric then. But I think he'll revert to type for these two games coming up, France and England. I think we'll go Warren Ball for these two coming up. I'd like him to stick with Tipuric, but I think we're going to go back to Lydiate. I think.
Guy, you correctly called it last week that Tipuric would get dropped and Lydiate back in. What do you make of the decision?
I just stick by what I said last week. I think we were going to revert to type for this game. We've thrown it around against probably Ireland, who Warren Gatland thought he could get one over on with all their injuries. So he thought, why not? We'll stick to Tipuric in. And Scotland deemed to be one of the weaker teams. And now we're coming up against the massive French. And I think Warren thinks that we need Lydiate back in the squad to basically put the men on the floor for either Sam or Tips, whoever's on the field at the time, to get over the ball and turn the ball over. Because at the moment, it's we're sort of relying on scoring points from the boot rather than scoring tries. And as we all know, we've got to evolve. And I think even Warren's finally realised that the way he was playing before is the best way to go, but we need to pass the ball around a bit more.
And, I mean, it's just going to come down to it. It's going to be a war of attrition, isn't it? On Friday, I don't think it's going to be the tries that decide it. It is, again, it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's going to be the boot that decides it, especially if it is Joubert in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it was last time I checked, and we did mention it last week. I did a bit of analysis looking into this because I knew we were going to speak about this today. And the average score for a Wales-France match over the last 5 seasons has been 20 points to Wales and 9 points to France. That's 29 points in a game, and that's very, very rare in international rugby for it to be that low a score. And even in the Six Nations, it's well within the lower half of scoring Six Nations games over the last 5 years. So you've hit the nail on the head there, guys. It's probably going to be a war of attrition. Probably going to come down to the boot. We've got Dan Bigger. They've got whoever plays 9, and we've got to just put the ball between the sticks and grind it out. And then I think it's onwards and upwards after that.
Prediction?
If I say 20 points to 9, because that's the average, does that count?
Yeah, good shout.
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Patty?
Yeah, no, you've said it. Neither team. Well, France don't have any sort of consistency about their play and never really have. I think that they certainly put on a bit of a display last week. It was a bit of a war of attrition, really, in terms of the game itself. Well, last game, I mean. But I don't see a lot of points being scored either. Wales have a solid defence, and it should be a very interesting match, to say the least.
Wales to win?
Yeah, I think so.
By?
Not by 11. I think probably a try, maybe 5 or 7.
Okay. Milt, what do you reckon? Who's going to win it?
I think Wales by just 2 or 3. I think the French are used to big, like the top 14's big, physical. A lot of games are pretty close. I think it'll be similar to that, and it might suit them. I think the way Wales play might suit France as well. So, yeah, 2 or 3 points. It'll be pretty electric in the Millennium on a Friday night, I'd imagine. But that'll probably be enough for a Wales win, I think, for me.
You mentioned the Friday night game. There have been 5 now in the Six Nations. Wales have been involved. There have been 7 in the Six Nations, and Wales have been involved in 6 of them. My namesake Gareth Davies. There's not many of us in Wales, but he's come out and said that it's about time that these games are shared out. That it's not fair that it's always us. Patty, I mean, what do you make of Friday Night Lights? Do they work on the international stage?
There's enough pressure as it is. I don't think time of day or conditions by way of floodlights or what have you make much of a difference. A lot of the professional rugby back home, so Super Rugby, is played at night time. And
isn't that because it's 30 odd degrees in the day?
Well, potentially as well. But I certainly think it adds an element of excitement. I think commercially fantastic. People finishing up work on a Friday afternoon, heading to the pub, watching some live sport. There's nothing better than that. And I wouldn't be complaining if I was named Gareth Davies.
Mills, what do you reckon?
What do the Welsh, do they like it or not?
Sam Warburton's come out and said that it actually suits him because they are so used to playing on an evening.
What about you as a punter?
Me as a punter,
Would you rather go see Wales on a Friday night lights or a Saturday afternoon?
In the absence of Corsi, I just do like boozing on a Saturday. It's
Amen to that.
I think it adds a bit more rugby, Saturdays for rugby, and I just don't think it's very rare you get an absolute belter of a game on a Friday night. I don't know what it is, I don't know why it is, but it's just very, very rare.
I'm the opposite. Yeah, definitely.
I'm down there on Friday night, and I know I'm going to be rushed. I don't like boozing rushed. It tends to get silly. Saturday you got your whole day, haven't you? Saturday you got your whole day, and you can just settle in for the day. Whereas Friday there's going to be traffic, and you're on catch up, and
exactly. Your safety beers can go out the window, and it's all.
Yeah.
There we go. But Guy, do you like them or not? Or do you think Wales should have so many? And is it just because the Millennium is the best stadium in the world in terms of getting from the pub to the ground?
It's a combination of things when they look at whether they can actually host them on a Friday night. Because basically, if you were travelling to Twickenham on a Friday, it'd be an absolute nightmare. It'd be worse than the Millennium. Let me put the myth that we're having too many at the moment. The WRU are asking for Friday night games because they pay more for them. The BBC and ITV pay more. We earn more from it just for hosting the same game that would have been in the stadium anyway.
Yeah.
So it's a money-making exercise as usual. Gareth Davies can say as much as he wants. It's about time it's shared around. Yeah, in behind closed doors in the meeting, the WRU are going, yeah, we'll have it. How much more money will you pay us to host it on a Friday? So I can pretty much put a bet on right now that the next couple of Six Nations, when the fixtures come out for 2018, 2019, because I think they're the next ones to be scheduled, Wales will have the Friday night games again. I work in the centre of Cardiff. I'm leaving work at 3:30 on Friday.
To get
home, to get out of the city,
yeah.
So I can actually go boozing in a place where I want to go boozing. Because I'm not going to the game. It's no point staying in town because I won't be able to get home. Basically, unless I get a hotel room, I just won't be getting home because the taxis will be fully booked. The trains will have queuing all the way back to Penarth. So it is a place to be. It's not suiting the average rugby going fan who likes to get out in town, it's a Saturday city where it's much better to watch rugby on a Saturday, and I'm sacrificing my sleep, and everyone knows I love my sleep. I'm sacrificing my sleep.
Right, there's the don't care gong, guy. You've bored everyone to tears. No one cares about how you're getting home. No one cares about your sleep. So we will move on from that to.
I don't know what happened.
God knows what happened. Listeners, if you are rejoining us after that short interlude that you managed to drift off,
Is it Friday night yet?
we are going to drift over to Pat's stats.
Thank you, Gareth. Sorry I wasn't here for Pat's stats last week. That just means we've got more stats for this week. So, Luke, I will be throwing to you. Please pick one of three numbers. The numbers you have are number 79, number 141, and number 102. That's 79, number 141, and number 102.
I'll go 102.
Very good choice, young Luke. 102. The only national newspaper to fail to report on a test match because its correspondent was at a hopscotch match. Even better, it was the Samoa Times in Western Samoa in August 1926, when Western Samoa were defeated by the Tongan national side 14 points to 5 at Apia Park. Until 1914, when New Zealanders supplied the Samoans with leather rugby balls, the Islanders played rugby using coconut shells. That's fantastic in and of itself. Just 10 years later, they played their first rugby union test match, losing 6-0 to Fiji. But evidently, this remarkable leap from parochialism to the international stage did not excite much interest among the island press. On the 6th of August 1926, the Samoa Times reported, "Our rugby correspondent has failed us this week, and owing to a previous engagement at a hopscotch match near the Market Hall on the same afternoon, we did not see the rugby game." There you go. Famous international hopscotch players. The Western
exactly.
Samoans
Yeah,
as well.
very, very nimble, aren't they? More of that next week. Milt's Island for you this week. Daly looks like he's going to make his debut either off the bench or even potentially starting. What do you make of that inclusion, and what do you make of your chances against the Paddies on Saturday?
Well, I'd almost certainly say he's going to be on the bench, which I think is a good call, because I think he covers so many positions and he's been playing well. He's never going to play in the same centre as Joseph, so yeah, I think it's a good call. He's obviously trained well. I'm predicting England to excite on Saturday. That's my prediction. I think not a lot's been made about being the first game at Twickenham after the World Cup, and I think that's going to be a big factor. The Irish are a bit in transition. I quite like Eddie Jones's mind games with the kicking stuff. I don't know whether that'll affect them or not. But Sexton's not playing well, and he's a big player for them. I don't really see where the rest of their threat's going to come from. So I'm thinking England win, maybe by 12 to 15. There you go, 12 to 15 points.
No, Ireland, apart from the first 20 minutes against us, I think they did look very. They looked okay. They looked very good in defence, but they showed very little in attack, did they? One blow for you, withdrawn today with a hamstring niggle, is Joe Launchbury. So Courtney Laws comes in for him into the squad. Is it a straight swap, him straight into the side, or do you bang Maro Itoje in there?
That'll be real interesting. I reckon he sees Itoje more of a 6, but I don't know. I know Laws used to call the line-outs. I don't know if that'll be a factor whether Launchbury does now. But line-outs so important. I reckon Laws might even bounce straight back in, and they keep Itoje on the bench, and he'll do exactly the same as he did against Italy. But it'll be interesting. Laws is an interesting one. 18 months ago, it was almost like the talk of the town, if you were, and he's gone off the scene a bit, but needs a couple of big games because he could be out of a player. I know Guy hates him, but
yeah, we've talked plenty of times in private about Courtney Laws, and myself and Guy have both said that he's not what people make him out to be. Guy, what do you reckon? Is he going to come straight back in, and what are England's chances on the weekend?
Yeah, I think Courtney Lawes comes straight back in because, like Milton said, I think they'll use Itoje off the bench. I think Ireland will be as boring as I just was 5 minutes ago.
Not possible.
So I'd like to apologise to our listeners for sending us bed early.
He'll be devastated at that.
Absolutely.
And I like Milton's blue sky thinking that they're going to excite, check the ball around. But at the end of the day, I think it's not really a second string Irish team, but it's a banged up Irish team with a possible debutant in the centre with that monster McCloskey from Ulster. I think they're going to just do what they've done to the other two teams. No point checking around early doors, just beat you up front, and then if the chances present themselves, finish them off nicely. Because that's one thing they have been doing quite well, to give them their dues. If a chance has opened up, they have finished it. So they would be dangerous if Ireland switch off at all. But
can I just clarify? I didn't say chuck it around. I said they might excite.
Excite? What does excite mean?
I'm not insinuating they're going to play sevens rugby here.
What does excite mean?
Just excite. I think they'll play well. I think Ireland will be poor.
Oh, excite in England.
Right, I'll jump in before you two come to blows. Guy, who's going to win, Ireland or England?
England, with Courtney Lawes being average.
But exciting.
Yeah, but very exciting.
Very exciting.
Boys, we're not going to waste any time on the basement clash apart from one word off each of us. Who's going to win, Scotland or Italy? Patty, we'll start with you.
Italy.
Guy.
Scotland by lots.
Milts.
Scotland. Guy said 3 words.
I'll go Scotland as well. Right, we'll stay on Six Nations.
That's Guy for you. Why use one word when you can use 3? So there you go.
Boys, we'll stay on the Six Nations. We're hoping our emerging star of the year, Jimbo Muir, might join us today, but
Finally.
Unfortunately, again, he's unavailable. So,
Do we know where he is now?
best of luck with his recovery. I'm sure we'll see him.
He's in New Zealand, and you've been ringing him.
So we will go, Patty. I mean, what do the Southern Hemisphere teams make of the Six Nations? It's not been very exciting at all this time round. I mean, how's it perceived in Australia?
I like the way I get to speak for an entire half.
You do.
Half
Over to you.
Exactly, the entire hemisphere. Sweeping generalisations. There we go. No, look, I wasn't. It doesn't get a lot of press back home. To be fair, we don't really see it as all that important. When I first came over here, I was surprised at how much you guys all get into it, and I've steadily got more and more into it myself. I mean, regular international rugby against a number of different teams, that's really exciting. For so long, it's just been us, the Kiwis and South Africa, beating the shit out of each other. I guess making ourselves be better in the process. But we get the blinkers on and forget about the other rugby playing nations. But look. I'm fully into it now. I'm really excited. Can't wait to watch as much of the Six Nations as possible. And I think the rugby up here is catching up, certainly.
But the one thing that we don't have with this competition that almost every other competition in the world now has is the bonus point system. There is no...
Really?
No, there is no bonus point system, so there is no benefit for teams going out to try and score 4 points.
No wonder you play such boring rugby then. Jesus.
Is that why we're seeing boot fests and the fact that teams just want to win and that's it?
Absolutely. They're not being rewarded for how they're winning. They're just being rewarded for winning whatever cost. And I think if you notice all the numerous rule changes and law changes that have occurred over the last 10, 15 years. Majority of the time, they're trialled or at least start in Southern Hemisphere, in club rugby or even the Super Rugby, and then progressed. Usually it's first played international would be a Southern Hemisphere match. So I guess we're more open to playing differently.
I mean, that'd certainly be the one change that I'd like to see in our competition. Milt, is that something that you'd see quite high up on your agenda?
I do think we also play in February, which doesn't help.
Yeah.
Doesn't lend itself to chucking the ball around the New Murrayfield in early February. In a way, I quite like it because it's a little bit traditional and it's been that way for a long time. And would it change record books and stuff like that? And I don't know, but maybe you need to adapt. And also, I think World Cup quarterfinals, semi-finals are usually pretty close, cagey affairs, aren't they? They're not chuck it around and see how many tries you can get. So are we replicating that? But I don't know. I wouldn't mind either way, to be honest. It wouldn't really wouldn't bother me.
Guy, what's your take on it?
I think Milt's hit the nail on the head. I think the weather is an important factor, but then again, we've got a roof, so you can't really make that excuse. There has been the case put forward to have an international season for the Northern Hemisphere teams where you play everything, including the Heineken Cup, up till April. Then you have May and June for the Six Nations and then the summer tours. That might be a bit better. That might give the end of season feel to things, because you see at the end of the year with all the Aviva Premiership starts to liven up and everything like that. I do have an issue with the bonus point system in the Six Nations, however, because you could technically win the competition while somebody else gets the Grand Slam. So that problem needs to be ironed out. But I agree, bonus points would obviously create a more expansive game of rugby, because at the end of the day, points make prizes.
Points make prizes, indeed they do.
I've got to make up for the lack of Corsi right now, so I've got to start saying some wild comments.
We will jump. It is that time of the show where I hand over the presenting reins to my co-host, Patty Andrews. So it's over to you for turn of a ball.
Thank you very much, Gareth. A lot happening in the world of sport this week. There's been some movement in terms of title fights for the upcoming UFC. There's been the Australian women's sevens team dominating the sevens circuit at the moment. I had to throw that in there. But
it's been a brilliant tournament.
Yeah, fantastic for them. And particularly last one was in Sao Paulo in Brazil, where the Olympics
will be held.
So certainly bodes well for us. But the idea was to have a battle of words with my old nemesis James Muir, but he's not here. So we were going to discuss the state of international cricket and, more importantly, Australian cricket side, Test cricket side, just regaining the number one ranking at the moment. When you think back, the fact that we've just beaten the Kiwi side in New Zealand, that's fair effort, but it's a two Test series. But it wasn't that long ago that England beat us in the Ashes, and they've just gone and beaten South Africa in South Africa, which no one's done since we did it last time. And, I have to think perhaps maybe the England side would be more deserving. What do you reckon, Gareth?
It's the same with all these ranking systems, isn't it? The same with the IRB rankings, the same as the FIFA rankings, and seemingly the same with the cricket as well, is that you're better off. The best thing to do for your rankings is not play. The more you play, the more chance you have of going down. You saw teams during the World Cup when points were worth double. In fairness, in the IRB or World Rugby, should we say, rankings, teams that were progressing further into the competition were getting downscaled by teams that had already been knocked out, and there's something wrong with that. And like you said, for an England Test team to go out there and get a result in South Africa, yes, they were missing a couple of players, and yes, they were a side in turmoil, really, weren't they? With the captaincy being banded about left, right, and centre. Dale Steyn wasn't fully fit throughout the series, but nevertheless, you've gone down to one of the toughest places to play Test cricket, and you've come out there not only competed with them, which England haven't done for a long time, but also beaten them. So it's absolutely massive, and what it has done is it's put to bed a lot of critics. There was a lot of chat in the summer about those opening slots and whether or not sort of Joss Butler and or Johnny Bairstow should be in the side, and a lot of boys have just put their hands up, which again hasn't been done for a good 4 or 5 years, sort of post Kevin Peterson, should we say? There hasn't really been people cementing their spots in the England side, and they certainly have been doing that now.
I guess when you look at it across multiple forms of the game, you take a look at the Aussie side who we beat the Kiwis in a Test series at home, and then we hosted the hapless West Indians and destroyed them as well.
Yeah.
And then we've gone to New Zealand and beat them. So a couple of good results there, certainly, but nothing to the level of touring South Africa. However, we've then backed that up. That's in the meantime, we've won a Cricket World Cup, and then we've won a one-day series against India, and we didn't win a one-day series against New Zealand, but certainly won one of the matches and had some phenomenal one-day cricket streak. So, I mean, there's got to be some more consistency there, I guess, in terms of the Australian side's performance. Looking at the English team, they've just been smashed by the South Africans in the one-days and the T20.
Yeah.
That's just happening. I mean, how do you see that affecting their build-up guy? They're not got the number one Test ranking. They've just lost the one-days and the T20 to South Africa, and there's the T20 World Cup coming up this year. I mean, do you think that'll affect their performance, or where will their head be at?
It can't help, can it? Because I remember the only time England were the number one ranked team, it came off the back of not losing. So in that there was a lot of draws. It's been the same with the Australia team. They've gone 11 unbeaten now, but I think it's 4 or 5 of them have been drawn.
If we're talking about 2020.
Oh, all of it. He mentioned. He said England have dropped out off the number one in all forms of the game. Just to go back to the actual number one ranking for the Test team. There's only ever been 4 or 5 number one ranked teams in something like 14, 15 years of the actual rankings being in place. Gaz hit the nail on the head. It probably is better to not play rather than anything else. But going back to England, it can't help them. Definitely can't help them, because they know they're going in against teams who are, number one, more consistent, and they're going to have to pull the rabbit out of the hat. Whether that's picking somebody who's not been in the squad and not been around it's unfair to say failure, but not been around the actual lack of high-level success, and just try a few fresh faces and see if they can pull out the bag, or some sort of different form of tactics, as in they went into that one-day series against South Africa and played really well for the first couple of games, and then sort of reverted to type, went a bit safe again, and then the South Africans just pulled it out the bag. Yeah. So it's more. I think it's probably more to do with the way they play rather than the actual ranking of their chances in the actual tournament.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I don't know about you, Luke, but I'm much more of a Test cricket fan myself, and then one-dayers, and then I don't really care for the 2020. Upcoming 2020 World Cup, what's your take on it? Is it something you're excited for? Is it even on your radar? Where do you stand?
I'm very similar. I love Test cricket. I think that's the form of cricket that I follow more than anything. But I would follow 20. I appreciate it as a form of entertainment, and the skill level can be through the roof. If we just look at England with the 2020, I think any team that's got Butler, Stokes, Root in it, I don't think anyone would want to play England. I'm not saying England are going to get to semi-finals or finals, but I think England could beat anybody on their day. I think those tournaments are just who can get on a roll. Like, I remember when the West Indies won it, they just got on a roll, didn't they? And Gale was hitting form, and it's just who can adapt to the conditions quickest, and it's because it's so slapdash. It's just basically who can build that momentum. But I think England have got loads of match winners in there, particularly in their batting lineup. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Certainly.
I think, yeah.
Certainly. But, I mean, the style of cricket that 2020 is, it's got to be half a lottery anyway, Gareth. What do you reckon? It's slapdash, it's a bit of hit and giggle, and that's certainly the approach that some of the people take.
Yeah, well, in Test cricket, you can have a player take a session away from you with a performance, whereas in T20 you can get a player take a game away from you in half an hour. If you hit a ton in T20 cricket, then you're halfway there, aren't you? If you hit, because your team is going to be posting sort of closer to 200 than 150, and then that's half the battle. And again, if someone takes 4 for fuck all, then then that's halfway there. So that's all you said. Like Milt said, you got your match winners in your side. That's all they have to do is fire once, and that's it. And it just does seem to be strange in the way that people are really breaking it down now into three completely separate sports. Really, I mean, you've got boys who are playing T20 cricket that would never even sort of have a chance of getting a look in the Test squad, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, on that, David Warner, opening batsman for Australia, his debut for international cricket for Australia was in a T20 match.
Yeah.
And now he's vice captain of the Test side and one of our best players. And I think he got the Allan Border medal this year for best batsman, or best cricketer rather. So I mean, it certainly goes both ways in that respect. But with the, I guess, increase in these big bash leagues, the T20 leagues all over the place. They got the IPL. There's the Big Bash League back home, and I'm sure there's
as well in the Caribbean as well.
Absolutely, and more people being exposed to the T20. You've got to think the standard of cricket is being taken away from, I guess, a lottery to tactics, and T20 specialists as players as well. You don't have to be all three. I don't know what's the setup with England. Is Alistair Cook involved in any other cricket other than Test cricket, or is he? He's not one day captain.
He's just Test now. He used to be one day and Test captain.
They dropped him from everything.
Yeah. So
I've got a question, Gaz.
Go on.
Everybody's got to answer one word. So go on, one word. Would you have Peterson in your T20 team? You talked about IPL, Big Bash. He's probably the most dominant 2020 batsman in the world in those franchise cricket. So would you have him in your T20 team? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? I don't know.
What would you? Would you have him?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Like you said, it's almost like a completely different sport. And he's not with Cook and that all kind of test.
Absolutely.
So why not? Just put him in. It's a tournament.
Absolutely. It's a game for big personalities and big, big moments, and people who can take a session away. And Test cricket, you can't have too many of those people around, otherwise, the fabric of the team implodes. But just before we finish up, I did want to mention, Jimbo's not here, but I will talk about Brendan McCullum finishing up his Test cricket career. What can I say about him? He's certainly an idol of the game. Certainly someone who's worth looking up to, and he's got some records that will hold for a long time. 101 tests in a row since debut. I mean, that's phenomenal. He not to mention, most recently, the fastest Test 100 ever recorded, and not only that, it wasn't in a dead rubber. It was at a session of cricket when they were absolutely pegged up against the wall. I was watching it live actually. They were getting. We were just 2 wickets away from completely rolling them in the first session, and he's come out there and blasted 100 off 46 balls. I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, special.
Why is he retiring? He's obviously still got his eye in.
34, mate.
34, and he's got a T20 circuit to get round for a nice retirement fund. And it does bring it round full circle quite nicely, that it shows how much, although they are completely separate, they have now started folding into each other, because that was a T20 innings. What was it, 145 in the end off 79 balls? I mean, that's just not Test cricket that we know.
It's just not cricket, Basil.
It is just not cricket, but an absolutely frightening talent, and any T20 side that are lucky enough to have his signature on a bit of paper, they're going to go.
He's cool as hell as well.
Yeah, cool. Good-looking bloke, decent guns.
I hate him so much. I reckon that whole spirited cricket attitude he has, it's all bullshit, and it's all a mental ploy to take the high road, the moral high road. He's smug Kiwi prick. Anyway, thank you very much.
There we go.
Well battered, Brendan McCullum.
Sorry, Brandon, if you are listening, we'd love to have you on the show next week and go one-on-one with Pat. It's the time of the show now where we have again accidentally created a feature, and that is Corsey's quiz. Now, last week the boys Guy and Milts couldn't answer either question. How many caps has Dylan Hartley got? You boys went for 58 and 59. He actually has 68.
What?
68 caps, Dylan Hartley. And the second question was, who came on at fly-half for England in the Wales win in Twickenham in 2008, where Wales won 26-19? It was a bit of a trick question, because although he came on at fly-half, he actually came on for Mike Tyndall and then slotted into fly-half. And by the end of the game, England had 3 fly-halves on the pitch in Johnny Wilkinson, Toby Flood, who had started at 12, and Danny Cipriani.
Ah, Danny.
A certain Danny Cipriani.
Cipriani.
So, the question this week. In fact, sorry, I'll stop there because 2 weeks ago I put a question out to our listeners, and Gary Dipple got it right, but he didn't. He proved that he can't read because I told him to put it on the Facebook group, and he texted me it. So, unlucky gal, you win fuck all. And the prize goes to Robin Ward. So I will get a prize sent out to you, Rob, with the RSVP to your wedding. Love to come. Can't wait. So. Questions this week. Corsey's stunning knowledge of the 2003 England squad is unfortunately going to be untested on him, but Milton and Guy, you are up for the challenge. Who was the youngest member of the 2003 squad? Milt, you were English. You probably are still English. What's the answer?
Youngest member. I'm going to go for Bolshaw.
Guy Griffiths?
Is he right?
I'll reveal it later.
Is he right?
Mike Tyndall.
Fuming that I might have got it right.
Milts, I can confirm that Ian Bolshaw was born in 1979. There were 2 players in the squad born in 1979, making them the youngest 2 members of the squad. But the youngest member of the 2003 England squad was Johnny Wilkinson.
Shut up.
True story.
He was 22 because he was 18 in '99 when I watched him play against Wales. I think.
You're wrong. He was 24.
24.
Good maths.
Good maths, yeah.
And for a bonus point, very quickly,
I'm having a shocker.
who was the oldest member of the squad?
Dorian West.
Lukey Milton, spot on at 36 years of age. Right. We will fast forward. We'll fast forward 13 years, and 3 players have made their debut for England in this year's Six Nations. Luke Milton, who are they?
Oh, sorry, I only fell off a bed then. I missed the question. 3 debuts.
3 debuts in this year's Six Nations. Who are they for England?
Toje,
Correct.
Hill.
Correct.
I don't mind blank.
I got it.
Go on then, Guy, help me out.
I'm gonna have to rush you.
Played 7 minutes.
Again, you're wrong. He came on for Rob Shaw at 6.
Played on the flank, Milts.
Just tell me, I've had a mind blank.
Clifford.
Jack Clifford.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah.
Lovely stuff. Right. Last week we were forced to come up with features on the spot, boys, as you well know. As I sat in a lay-by in the somewhere in Sussex, just off the A27, because Patrick Andrews had told us all that he was coming on the show, and
fell asleep.
And he fell asleep.
Oh, you can't have a show. What was it? It was like bloody 10:30 or whatever it was.
Well, you know, you got to be where you got to be. Just for those who haven't got us on the webcam, I have in front. Pat has in front of him even 3 envelopes: A, B, or C. Now, as a forfeit for not coming on last week's show, he is gonna In fact, you boys can pick which envelope he opens. He opens it and he will read it out, and that will be our sign-off for this week's Dropout 22. So, Milt, Guy, you're not doing anything else tonight because you'll probably pick D. You've been that useless. Milt, A, B, or C?
It's got to be A. Definitely A.
A for Andrews.
Go ahead.
Okay. Piss off. David Pocock is a poor man's Sam Warburton. There you go.
And on that bombshell. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. Milt, Guy, thanks for joining me. Patty, it's been a pleasure. This has been Dropout 22, a GD Media production.